Good morning and welcome to episode 5 of Craft Here and Now. Today I would like to talk about paint by number supplies. Okay, I know that there are dozens of paint by number supply videos out there and you're probably thinking, oh gosh, here we go, not another one. But I don't know, in my opinion, everybody has a different approach and they do things a little differently. So I like to watch a variety of videos to get an idea of how people go about doing their paint by numbers. So today I'm just going to share some of the supplies that I use, things that work for me. But before I begin, I want to share some of the paint by numbers I've done recently and maybe in the past. I am not experienced with this filming process, so I have a very small area to work with right now until I can find better accommodations. So bear with me, and I'll probably have to scan these paintings, which probably won't come out as one big piece, but I apologize for that. So, okay, this one I did recently. I decided I wanted to start doing my paint by number again. And this was just about a month or month and a half ago. I started this and I finished it. It didn't take that long, very small paint by number. Then the next one I worked on was this. It's an outdoor cafe. And I took a lot of free license with this one because I did not exactly like some of the paint areas that they had used. So I did a lot. The tree, the pathway, the shrubs. I changed that, and I did what I felt would make the painting look a little bit better. Okay, then this one is a floral, and I did this, you can see all that. I did this recently. And see, again, I apologize for the size and the viewing. And then several years ago, I did this one. And I have so many others, but right now I have to go in and take them off the walls, and I'm not going to do that. But the reason I showed you the different ones is because I just want to talk now about basic paint by number supplies. And I'll show you the basic ones. Actually, most of my kits come in a box like this. I don't pay a lot of money because I'm not really an artist, and if it comes out okay and I'm pleased with it, that's fine. That's why I don't usually spend a lot of money, and I just go with ones that I can find on Amazon. Very inexpensive, under $10. Mostly they're under $5. And they do come with a basic kit, and the basic kit is a canvas, and along with the canvas you will have a set of paints and a set of brushes, and the brushes usually come with a hanging kit also. You will also need some toothpicks for stirring the containers. You will need a paper towel to dry off your brushes and to help clean your brushes. You will need a piece of paper to do your swatches, and I don't make a big production out of the swatches. I usually find out soon enough which ones are more translucent than the others, and I just number the pots in the kit, and as I work with the paint, I just make a swatch. That's basically how I do it. You will need, for the very small numbers, sometimes these canvases have very tiny numbers, and for me, it's hard to see them, so I like to have a little magnifying glass. And what I use these lenses, which I buy a pair of glasses at the dollar store. This is only a $2.50, but I usually get the strongest strength that they sell. This one is a 3.25. I know that some states are not allowed to sell that strength, but if you can get a 3.25, that'll work. And what I do is I just pop them out of the frame and I use the lens, and it works well for magnifying glass. So I think basically you'll need 2 containers. My neighbor always gives me this nice container during the holidays filled with wonderful cookies. Thank you, Lynn. I appreciate those. And it comes in handy because I save these containers and I use them for watercolor. And it also works for paint by number. If you dry your brush fast enough, you clean it fast enough, then you can use the water. But you don't want to leave the acrylic paint on the brush too long, so you won't get it off. And then I use this one for the main clean and this one for a second go round. And I like to have a foam tray. This is optional, but I like to have a foam tray just to gather all my supplies. And I like to have another tray with a washcloth that I can use to clean my brushes and dry them. So those are the basic paint by number supplies that I use, and they all work pretty well for me. Now I just wanted to point out that some of these paint by numbers, like for instance this one, even though it was inexpensive, it came framed. So I did not have to do anything with the frame, and it was good to go. This one, years ago, came with a frame kit. So it came with the canvas and a kit together. It was actually broken, and I just had to push these thumbtacks in, and it worked pretty well. It's nice and taut. I didn't have a problem with it. This one, on the other hand, okay, this was really an issue. It did not come with a frame, so I had to buy stretcher bars, and I tried to use the little thumbtacks that they came with. Let's see if I can find them here. It came with these little tiny thumbtacks, and this, believe me, did not work. It just did not hold. It was not strong enough to hold the canvas in place. So we ended up using an industrial staple gun for this. At first I tried a regular stapler. It did not work. They kept popping out, but the industrial stapler worked just as well. But let me tell you something. When I had to iron this because it came all folded up, and when I unfolded it, it was full of creases. It just was amazing how wrinkled up it was. So what I did, I turned it upside down on my ironing board, and I sprayed it, misted it with water, and I ironed it. But while I ironed it, I ended up making a crease here and a couple of ripples. I don't know how that happened because I have ironed canvases in the past, but this one just was a mess. So my husband made a piece of cardboard for me, and I use that as an insert, and it works really well to pop out that canvas. And now it's fine. It's fine, no problem. So the thing is, if you purchase a PBN that is not framed, you're going to need some type of stretcher bars like this. And they're easy to use. You just put them together, you just snap them together, and they make a nice frame. But then you're going to have to attach your canvas with a pretty heavy-duty stapler. I don't recommend the thumbtacks. They're hard on the thumb, first of all, but the industrial stapler works really well. So that's why, if possible, I suggest getting one that's already framed. Save yourself a lot of hassle. So now I want to talk about some what I call optional supplies. These are special supplies that you do not have to have if you're doing a paint by number. However, you might want to have some of these supplies. Now, the first thing is, as I said, these kits come with a brush, a set of brushes. And usually it's a thin fine line, a medium fine line, and a little bit larger for the bigger areas. So if you really want to do this for a hobby, you might consider getting yourself a special fine line brush. I don't have one, but I think they're called Zero or Zero slash something. I'm not really an artist, so I don't know the numbers of brushes that well, but I think it's like a 05 or a 0 something. Now this one is a 1, and the reason I want to show you this, it's called Simply Simmons, and I'm sure it's a very good brush. It says script on it, but it's not good for paint by number. It's a very long-haired brush, and you don't want something like this for paint by number because it's really flimsy, and you will not be able to work well with it. So I suggest if you get a special brush, make sure that it does not have long hairs. Also, you can use gesso. This is just clear gesso, and you can put this on your canvas to prep your canvas. I have tried doing paint by numbers with and without this, and honestly, I don't know if it's just this brand. I think this brand is fine. There's no problem with it, but it did not make a difference for me. So sometimes I just go ahead and do the paint by number without preparing the canvas. It depends what mood I'm in. Okay, the other thing is I sometimes use a medium extender for acrylic paint. Sometimes you'll open up these little paint pots and you'll find that the paint is partially dried out or maybe very thick, and you want to stir it up with your toothpick first to see how it reacts. But I know that you can add a couple of drops of water, but sometimes water thins it out too much. So there are medium extenders, and I know a lot of people use Liquitex. However, if you read the instructions on this, you're supposed to dilute 1 or 2 drops of this into, let's see, what does it say exactly? 1 part per 20 parts of water. So I've seen people use this directly as a medium, and I did try this, but I found that it thinned out the paint so much that I wasn't able to use it until I left the pot open and let it dry out for a little bit. So what I prefer to use is Galleria Acrylic Medium Extender. This works very well for me, and I use it quite often. Just one drop, and then I stir it around, and if I need more of a fluidity, then I add a drop or two of water. So I don't go crazy with that product, but I do use it often. But you don't want to use too much of anything, because you'll probably ruin the paint. Also, what I like to do is have a supply of paints on hand, because sometimes I don't like the garish colors that these kits come with. So what I have are, I have a bunch of these. It's called Apple Barrel acrylic paint. Some of these are gloss, some of these are matte. Most of these are matte, but it doesn't matter, and I'll tell you why. If you use these paints, which I actually did, I used quite a few of those paints when I did, where is it? When I did this one. And most of these paints were matte. And as you can see, this has a nice glossy finish. So after you use your matte paints, don't panic. What I do is I use Mod Podge Super Gloss Brilliant, and this gives it a nice glossy finish. You can cover any matte paint with this, it's fine. What you cannot do, you cannot add matte paint to gloss paint, because then it becomes matte. And be careful when you add some of the mediums. Some mediums will turn your gloss paint matte. Now, I don't worry about that, and I really didn't pay any attention, so I'm not sure if this may turn your matte paint, your glossy paint matte. It may. So if you do not want that to happen, then I suggest not using an acrylic medium. Just use it straight out of the pot, and just add a few drops of water to loosen it up. But I don't worry about that, because like I said, I love the Mod Podge. It's great. It works really well. Also, there is a trick, or I shouldn't say a trick, but a method you can use if you have very translucent paints. I have this, which is Galleria White, titanium white. You can use either white or gray. This is also acrylic. And you can mix up your translucent paint and make it more opaque by adding either white or gray acrylic. It will change, but it will also change the color. Like if you use white, it'll make it a lighter shade. So you might want to experiment with that before you go ahead and ruin your paint by number, but that's just one option. I've tried it, but generally what I do is 2 or 3 layers to cover up the numbers and the lines. So I've only used this once, but I know that it can be done, because I've tried it. Okay, so let's see. What else did I want to say about that? I think basically that covers everything. If you want to be very creative, you can buy these little empty paint pots, and you can mix your own colors. I've done that also. I did that when I didn't like the garish colors that this one came with, so I did mix some of my own to finish this, and that worked out pretty well. Yeah, I think that covers everything I wanted to talk about today. So hopefully that's been helpful. And if you've never tried paint by number, I suggest giving it a try. I did want to show you one more thing. Um, well, where is it? Well, of course, I can't find it now. Well, doesn't matter. Okay, it doesn't matter. It was one I was currently working on. I just wanted to show you the canvas. It was, well, that's me, disorganized. Seems to have disappeared. So, okay. Well then, I can't show you because it's not here now. It's a mystery. Here it is. Okay, it's buried. I'm sorry, it was buried under. This is what I wanted to show you. Okay, this, as you can see, some of the numbers are very, very tiny. That's why I need to have my little magnifying glass just to make sure that I'm on target with the correct paint and number. So this particular kit did not come with a printed guide for the numbers. So I had to take a picture of it with my camera, and that's going to come in handy because when you have numbers this small, they are going to get covered up as you paint around them, and then you won't know what number paint to use. So this came with a very tiny picture, this small, and so I used my printer and I increased it 165%, and I came out with this picture. Then I took this picture and increased it 200%, and I came out with this picture. So this is big enough for me to work with, and actually this isn't too difficult a canvas. The numbers are very clear. Some of the canvases, it's far more difficult to work with. The numbers just kind of merge together. But that's how I do this. I find this enlargement a little bit easier to follow. I've done this for all my paint by numbers because to look at a tiny little picture like that, it just really it's not enough for me to see to define the picture. So I just started this, and what I do is I usually, it looks horrible, I understand that, but I do one pass and then do the next color and do another pass, or sometimes I do one section at a time and complete it. But this is such a small painting that I'll probably just work one number at a time, and then when I'm finished, I'll go through again and do a second pass, and then I'll tweak it again with the third pass. That's what I usually do with my paint by numbers, just to clarify everything. Okay, so hopefully that's been helpful, and if you have any questions or would like to share your thoughts, please do so. Thank you for watching and have a blessed day.